The internet feels like an open book. Google, Facebook, YouTube, everything looks just one click away. But hidden behind this surface lies another world. A darker secret side called the dark web. Unlike the surface web, it doesn't show up on Google searches. It needs special browsers like Tor to even access. For many, the dark web sounds like just a mystery, a place for hackers and illegal markets. But for those who have explored too deep, they've discovered websites that are not just illegal, they are deeply disturbing. What you're about to hear are real stories, not myths, not legends, but verified cases that show the horrifying truth of the dark web. Let's start with one of the most infamous cases. People exchanged recipes and fantasies, but the recipes weren't about food, they were about humans. He wasn't joking, he posted an ad looking for a willing victim. Shockingly, someone responded. A man agreed to meet him. And what happened next turned into one of the most shocking crimes in history. Maves recorded the entire act on video. Later, police discovered the tapes and the forum. This was not horror fiction. It was the real, bloody result of a dark web forum. Next came the human experiment. This website claimed to showcase real medical experiments. The victims? Homeless people and orphans, according to the descriptions. Photos and written logs appeared online. Users claimed they saw images of people being injected with strange chemicals. Others described bodies showing signs of brutal testing. No one knows if every image was authentic, but the site became infamous for how real it felt. Authorities eventually shut it down, but the stories linger even today. Then we move to the most notorious marketplace of all, the Silk Road. At first, it was just about drugs. Users could order narcotics the same way they order clothes on Amazon. But behind private forums, darker trades took place. Weapons, stolen identities, and even trafficking. Reports suggest hidden boards linked buyers and sellers for unimaginable crimes. In 2013, the FBI finally caught its founder, Ross Ulbricht. He was sentenced to life in prison. But copies of Silk Road popped up again and again, each version hosting darker and more disturbing content. What makes this chilling is not just the crimes. It's how normal the websites looked, clean, organized, almost like eBay. Except here, the products were dangerous and deadly. Now comes a case investigators still call the worst crime online: Daisy's destruction. Peter Scully, an Australian criminal, created this nightmare website. It wasn't hidden behind stories or rumors. It was real, recorded, and sold on the dark web. The videos showed children being tortured in unimaginable ways. It shocked even hardened cybercrime police. Some officers had to leave investigations after watching. Authorities worldwide launched a manhunt. Scully was eventually caught in the Philippines. He now serves life in prison, but the scars remain. This case proved that the darkest corners of the web weren't just stories. They were crimes happening in real time. Another disturbing category on the dark web was hitman for hire websites. Some of them were scams meant only to steal money. But police discovered chat logs showing real contracts. Money was transferred. Targets were discussed in shocking detail. One investigation revealed that a businessman had paid thousands. The target was his own business partner. It blurred the line between scam and actual crime. Imagine logging into a website and finding a price list for murder. That's how disturbing these corners of the dark web are. And this was just the beginning. The sites we've talked about so far, they are only a fraction of what exists. When most people think of the internet, they think of entertainment, social media, games, or streaming movies. But on the dark web, some websites were made for something far darker. Websites that encouraged people to take their own lives. At first, they looked like places for people struggling with depression, a place to talk to find support. But soon, the forums turned into something horrifying. Instead of helping, users began encouraging each other. Step-by-step instructions were shared. Methods were discussed in disturbing detail. In several cases, young users followed what they read. Police around the world linked real suicides directly to dark web forums. For the families, it wasn't just tragic, it was chilling. Another disturbing trend on the dark web was cursed files. People shared mysterious videos with warnings. They claimed the files carried bad luck, hallucinations, even madness. One example was a video simply titled, "I Feel Fantastic." At first glance, it looked like an odd robot singing. But uploaded versions on hidden forums had disturbing edits. Strange messages, creepy backgrounds, and unsettling screams. Another cursed file was called "Obey the Walrus." It spread from the dark web into mainstream internet. Viewers reported nightmares and paranoia after watching. While skeptics say they're just shock videos, the disturbing truth is, people on the dark web often mix horror with reality. What starts as a creepy clip may hide real pain behind it. But perhaps the most terrifying legend of the dark web is the Red Room. For years, people whispered about it. A live-stream torture show where viewers could pay to control what happens. Change the weapon, choose the victim's fate, and watch everything unfold live. Many dismissed it as an urban legend, something too dark to be real, but then investigators discovered evidence. In 2015, Europol traced servers broadcasting violent torture. Not staged, but actual victims suffering live. The streams were hosted through hidden servers, accessible only through invitations and massive payment. Reports suggest some viewers paid in cryptocurrency. Law enforcement shut some servers down. But by then, the Red Room myth had already become a chilling reality. The very idea that humans would pay to watch suffering shocked even veteran investigators, and the scariest part, experts believe copies still exist, circulating quietly on encrypted networks. Now imagine stumbling onto these sites accidentally, thinking you're exploring just another hidden forum, and suddenly being exposed to the worst of humanity. This is why the dark web is called a nightmare. Because the deeper you go, the less difference there is between fiction and reality. The cursed files that left people haunted, and the red rooms that blurred myth and truth. Each of them shows how far the dark web can go, not just illegal, but disturbingly inhuman. And yet, this is only scratching the surface. The dark web is often described as a marketplace. But what happens when that marketplace treats human lives as products? One of the most disturbing corners involves human trafficking websites. Hidden forums and encrypted markets where people were listed like items. Investigations revealed shocking evidence. Young women and children advertised with coded language. Some posts used terms like fresh or unbroken, words that carried horrifying meanings. In one case, Europol discovered a site offering maids for hire. But behind the polite wording, it was actually trafficking victims. The site used fake job descriptions, but payments and hidden messages revealed the real trade. Even scarier transactions were often made in cryptocurrency. Fast, anonymous, and nearly impossible to trace. And it wasn't just strangers. Some victims were kidnapped directly from their homes, sold through these hidden markets, never to be seen again. These cases proved the dark web wasn't just about drugs or hackers, it was about real people being bought and sold. But trafficking wasn't the only horror. There were also stories of disappearing users, people who wandered too deep into the dark web, curious explorers who went past the safe forums and then vanished. On Reddit and other surface sites, users shared chilling tales. Some said their friends entered private chat rooms. After that, no messages, no activity. Their accounts went silent forever. One story tells of a college student in the US. He bragged about exploring hidden Tor forums. A week later, his laptop was found open. The screen still showed an encrypted chat, but he himself was missing, never found again. Of course, skeptics dismiss these as urban legends. But the truth is, law enforcement confirmed cases where people accessed dangerous groups and then disappeared under suspicious circumstances. The dark web isn't a safe playground. It's a place where curiosity can cost your life. And then there are the black markets. Silk Road was just the beginning. After it was shut down, countless clones appeared. Alphabay, Hansa Market, Dream Market, each one darker than the last. On the surface, they sold drugs and fake IDs. But deep inside, hidden boards offered much worse: weapons-grade explosives, organs for transplant, even so-called mystery boxes that promised illegal contents. In one notorious case, a buyer ordered a mystery box. What arrived wasn't drugs or gadgets. It was a jar containing what looked like human remains. The buyer posted photos online before deleting everything. Authorities can't confirm every claim, but enough evidence exists to show these black markets were real. And the scariest thing? Every time one market is shut down, another rises in its place. It's like cutting the head off a hydra. The dark web adapts, evolves, and hides even deeper. So imagine this, a world where human lives are sold, where users vanish without a trace, and where black markets thrive on the suffering of others. This is not a horror movie script. This is reality. The dark web exposes a side of humanity we wish didn't exist, but it does, and it gets worse. Because beyond markets and trafficking, there are sites that focus only on pain. Communities built around torture, abuse, and cruelty. By now, you've seen how dark the dark web can get, but there are corners even worse. Corners where suffering isn't hidden. It's celebrated. One of the most infamous examples is Daisy's Destruction. We already mentioned its name earlier, but what investigators found still haunts them to this day. Peter Scully didn't just upload a single video. He created an entire community of torture. Users who shared and consumed this content like it was entertainment. When police raided his hideout, they found a network of files, servers, and paying members. It was an entire community built around pain. And Daisy's Destruction wasn't alone. There were other forums, smaller but equally disturbing, some dedicated to animal torture. In one forum, members competed to upload the worst content. The most shocking, the most violent. Winners earned praise from strangers hiding behind usernames. To the outside world, these people looked normal, neighbors, co-workers, everyday citizens. But in the shadows, they celebrated cruelty. Investigators described the content as beyond human. Even seasoned officers couldn't watch without breaking down. Some resigned after being exposed to the footage. Another chilling discovery was Pain Olympics forums. Inspired by viral surface web videos, these hidden boards took things to horrifying levels. Users mutilated themselves for attention. Others uploaded recordings of violent acts, each one darker than the last. At first, many assumed it was staged, but law enforcement later confirmed some uploads were real victims. Real suffering displayed for clicks. Then there were communities of violence, dedicated not to profit but to ideology. Investigators traced one site back to a terror cell. They used the forum to spread videos of executions, recruitment and propaganda disguised as entertainment. The scariest part? Thousands of users logged in daily, sharing, liking, and spreading this content. Proof that these forums weren't small, they were thriving. For many officers, the hardest part wasn't catching the criminals. It was realizing how many ordinary people were willing to watch, how cruelty became community. The dark web doesn't just host criminals. It reveals a side of humanity we rarely want to admit exists. A hunger for violence, a fascination with pain. And while police have taken down many of these sites, new ones always appear. Smaller, encrypted, harder to track. It's a never-ending battle between law enforcement and darkness. But here's the terrifying truth. Some of these forums have been linked to real crimes offline. In one case, a man active in torture communities was later arrested for kidnapping in real life. He tried to recreate what he saw online. In another, investigators linked a murder to a dark web challenge. The killer claimed he was proving himself to the community. This shows the danger goes beyond the screen. They inspire it. Every click, every upload, every like adds fuel to the darkest side of human nature, and this is why the dark web is feared. Not because of what it hides, but because of what it reveals about us. The dark web began as a tool for freedom, a place where people could browse without censorship, where whistleblowers, journalists, and activists could speak safely. But over time, it became something else, a hiding place for humanity's darkest desires. We've seen it all: cannibal forums like Cannibal Cafe, experiment sites like The Human Experiment, black markets like Silk Road, and nightmare tapes like Daisy's Destruction. We saw forums pushing people to suicide, cursed files that blurred fiction and reality, red rooms where pain was broadcast for money, and trafficking markets treating humans like products. The question is, why do these websites exist? Some say it's because of anonymity. Tor and cryptocurrencies make it nearly impossible to trace users. Others say it's because of human nature, that when given total freedom, some people choose the darkest path. Law enforcement around the world fights daily against these sites. For every market shut down, another rises. For every forum erased, backups appear. It's like playing whack-a-mole with human evil. But here's the chilling truth: the dark web isn't going anywhere. It's woven into the fabric of the internet itself. Even now, new technologies like blockchain and AI make tracking criminals harder than ever. And as long as there's demand, someone will supply. But we also can't ignore the other side. Not every hidden website is evil. Some protect journalists in dangerous countries. Some give privacy to activists fighting corruption. This is the paradox of the dark web. It's both a shield and a weapon, both a sanctuary and a nightmare. For ordinary people, though, the danger is real. Curiosity can lead to trauma. One wrong click, and you may see things that will haunt you forever. Or worse, you could stumble into a trap set by criminals. Phishing scams, malware, even threats to your life. That's why experts always warn, the dark web isn't a place for exploration. It's a place for survival, and unless you know exactly what you're doing, you shouldn't go there at all. But perhaps the most important lesson is this: the dark web doesn't just expose hidden websites. It exposes humanity itself. It shows us that behind closed doors, behind screens and anonymity, some people will choose cruelty over kindness. And that's the real horror. Not the websites, not the code, but the people behind them. So when you think of the dark web, don't imagine it as just hackers or myths. Think of it as a mirror, a reflection of what humans are capable of, both good and evil. In the end, the dark web is not just technology. It's a reminder that monsters don't only exist in stories. They exist online, they exist among us, and sometimes they're just one click away